Good evening and welcome all Marlon's not about. So tonight I'm welcoming you to not Tamworth, Spurs Kings TV. You're here for another episode of the Monday pitch. Marlon got dragged away, so you're gonna have to suffer me for the evening. We have got our usual panelists on. First up, I'm gonna bring in Sink. How's it doing, bro? You good?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Not
Good
too
to hear.
bad.
Yeah,
Busy back at work, but good. Another good weekend for me football wise, so I'll take that.
yeah. Let's skip past that. No break. But to be expected.
We have still got a Tottenham panelist on the show, the resident referee, Chris. How's it going, my friend? You good?
I'm good, mate. We gave Tamworth one hell of a whooping at the weekend. So
It made you sweat a bit.
they took one hell of a beating, mate.
And
You have
last
to
but
wear them
by
down,
no
innit?
means least, Stocky. How's it going? You alright?
Yeah, all good, mate. How you doing? How you doing, gents?
Yeah, good. Thanks. How you doing?
Wonderful FA Cup weekend.
Yeah, you got to love the magic of the cup, ain't you?
Hey, Sink, you ain't got to worry. I couldn't see none of your game watching the highlights. It was just, I'm not even sure it really happened. It's covered in fog.
I know. I'll put it. That's what I'm going to put it down to, the fog. That's why we got.
Adverse weather conditions.
Yeah. Should have
Sink
been.
still thinks they've won. He didn't see it after Leicester goals.
Exactly. I don't even know what it was, mate.
Well battled 2-2.
Yeah, I know.
Well, while we're on it, we might as well jump straight in. It was a pretty interesting weekend, to be fair. There was a few nearly shocks, a few moments where people could have thought there could have been a shock on the cards, and there was one kind of shock as well, really, when you look at it. But all in all, it was pretty straightforward FA Cup third round, to be honest, which is a little bit boring, kills a little bit of the magic of the cup. Anyone managed to take in many games?
Not really. I managed to see the Man United Arsenal second half. Really, I missed the first half. Was working all through Saturday, so I missed quite a lot actually. I was watching a few bits on the highlights, but other than that, not. I was unfortunate to miss this FA Cup round, but good to see some of the results. I was really intrigued to see Plymouth and Brentford. A little bit of a giant killing there. So yeah, that was an interesting one. Thought Bromley did all right.
One little shock.
Yeah.
Anybody else taking the games?
Well, my FA Cup weekend, like third round's usually my favourite time of the year, but mine was clipped from under it on Friday night. So, and then I just went out the rest of the weekend, drinking and whatnot. But I did have fun watching the highlights. The highlights. I was checking up on the scores on my phone, and I managed to just get some reception to watch the penalties, which is always fun to see someone get knocked out on penalties.
Yeah, Pez was fun.
Everybody loves a penalty shootout.
I'll save my slating of them for when we move on to them.
So, Chris, did you manage to watch anything else other than the giant killing of you going to Tamworth and winning on that majestic pitch of theirs?
I watched bits. To be honest, I think it's a bit of a disappointing weekend. Really, it seemed to lack a little bit of the excitement of previous seasons. But yeah, I watched that game. I watched the Arsenal Man United game. Just to give a shout out to David Raya's amazing shootout performance, where he dived before I could even like. There was one of them, like Martinez penalty. He's basically dived past the post, and Martinez hasn't even taken it yet.
He was like Shilton. He was like Shilton at World Cup '90.
Yeah. It was one of the worst. The only one I do remember is David De Gea for Man United against Villarreal in that final. That was a woeful penalty shootout. So that gave me a chuckle. It's always nice to see Arsenal lose.
Yeah, to be fair, it's even better when it's not Man United. It was one of them where you hope they could both go out, to be fair, but no chance of that.
I'm sure the time will come in later rounds.
Yeah, well, maybe not the next round for Man United, because as we can now see on the screen, they've managed. showing up on mine. I don't know if it's changed on everybody else's.
Oh yeah.
It is there.
Don't know why that didn't change on mine. So they've managed to pull out Leicester. So not the hardest of draws, but it's all Premier League, so anything could happen really.
That's return of the rude boy, isn't it? Back to Man United.
Yep. Of course, a little upset to go a little cup run.
To be fair, their front four, from what I saw in the highlights, look decent against your boys, think.
Well, that's against our boys, so they don't really count for anything, really. The thing is, we're the type of team. If you got a player that's not scored in forever, like we're the team to play. So if you got a team that's,
I know that
bit,
feeling, mate.
a little bit running a lack of confidence, running low in form, we're perfect for them. Unfortunately.
Dr. QPR instead of Dr. Tottenham.
Yeah, it's a good therapy session, lads. I needed it.
Dr. QPR, and then Plymouth had Dr. Brentford getting them into the next round.
Yeah, but they got themselves a good tie at Liverpool. That'll be a nice little tasty trip for them.
When I was watching the highlights, the bloke that scored the goal, they said on the highlights that they'd received a 10 million bid from Lazio for him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Apparently, Burnley have put in a bid over the last couple of days.
Well, knowing the Burnley support very well, I don't think it's going to be 10 million.
I think it was more than that. I'm sure I saw that it was more than that.
If we've snuck onto Burnley, please tell me you boys have seen that goalkeeping gaff. Where he lets that shot in from about 35 yards between his legs.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Absolutely chucked it in.
Yeah.
Stinking. If someone done it on a Sunday morning, you'd be livid.
I know, you'd be fuming, wouldn't you? That's the beauty of the cup, though, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Although, I don't know why I've gone ahead so early. We'll roll back to this one because we spoke a little bit about Plymouth. The bottom picture, which is one of the Tamworth players fixing the net before the game, which was classic, just as it was meant to be.
It's a complete waste of time because we didn't bother to shoot, but there you go.
Like for me, what do you boys think about the scrapping of the replays now? Because Tamworth have all obviously put in an epic performance, taken Tottenham to extra time, and then Tottenham brought on Song and Kulusevski and just absolutely battered them in the final 30 minutes of extra time. So, do you think it benefits the lower league sides, or is it just a case of making sure the bigger clubs have more of a chance to go through on the day?
I'll take this. I think the bigger clubs knew what they would do. They'll say, "Oh, we've got too many games. What we'll do, we'll throw some money at you, so you agree to what we say."
Maybe
that's what it is. That's the way I see it.
Over 2 legs, I think that the advantage is still for the bigger team. I think
without a doubt, but they get their payday. So like, I think there were like rough estimations. If Tamworth went and played at Tottenham, it would have been a windfall of like 800 grand.
Yeah, but I get that, but I feel it's a bit sad that everybody looks at it like that because surely one thing I would do is I'd scrap extra time. I'd just have one time, 90 minutes, penalties.
And then straight to pens, yeah.
Exactly. And if Tamworth had beaten Tottenham and we were all sat here now going, oh my God, Tamworth have beaten Spurs, it's amazing. Would people be going, oh, actually, we'd rather have had a replay? I mean, maybe their finance director would, but surely it still gives them a better chance. Yeah. Like if they've held that team, they're not going to hold Tottenham to a 90-minute second time, realistically.
No. I get. I'm all right with it on the same day, but yeah, maybe getting rid of extra time would be the way forward.
Yeah, straight to.
What's the point in extra time? I mean, I know Spurs got through, but had there been no extra time, Kulusevski comes on after probably 60, 70 minutes, right? So
yeah,
most likely.
You never know.
The changes happen early. You never know, but quite likely.
Oh, if that bloke for Tamworth cuts it back when he rolls it back into his left, if he lays it square.
Yeah, the Tamworth did create a few chances, half chances that on another day they could have maybe taken in the 90 minutes. So it's very unfortunate. Another day, maybe another story. But I thought they gave a good account of themselves, definitely.
Oh yeah,
You won't hear anything about the scrapping of replays when there's like a cup shock, right? Especially if it's a draw and they've won it in extra time or whatever. No one will ever mention it then.
No.
It's what football always does. It suits the narrative at the time,
Yeah.
right? So at the moment, it's Paul
Yeah.
and Tamworth. But
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
yeah, it's an odd one. I think, as like from a manager's point of view, you'd scrap them because you think we've got one game, we've got to try and knock them out in one game. That's probably our best shot. But like we've already said, from the balance book point of view, the money people will be thinking, but if we get a draw, we can go to another game and get even more money. So
I think it helps as well the profile of the cup a little bit. So like the Spurs team that we put out was half decent. If we had the safety of a replay, we'd probably play even more of a scratch team, right? I mean, so you get one-off opportunity. There's no chance of flogging the players in a replay. I think people are more likely to stick their actual best team out.
I mean, I'm an old fart on it. I'd still like to see replays, but they'll complain about more games. But as soon as players are supposed to be having a break, they'll whip them over to fucking Korea or something, or the States for a tour. But they're playing too many games. Bless them.
yeah.
Well, I mean that's the issue I have. Like Levy and
Yeah.
Spurs and Ange have moaned about too many games, but last season, and you'll probably remember this, Mitch, like within 48 hours of the end of the season, Spurs and Newcastle had gone to Australia to play a friendly. I'm like, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
Literally 2 or 3 days after the final game of the season, we was playing another match. It was bonkers,
Yeah. The traditions have been put to one side for a few bob, and then a few bob that they make. This, to me, it feels like hush money. Although, if Tamworth got drawn at Tottenham, then it don't really matter. The replays, irrespective, they just get a cracking day out.
Yeah.
But in some ways, it feels like that them players, the club, the supporters, kind of with that 90 minutes display, they kind of deserve to have a go at Tottenham at their ground and go there having a good day out.
Yeah, I suppose it works that way as well.
In the fairy tale magic of the FA Cup and the true traditions, yeah, definitely. But I think you have to move with the times, and I feel like
I agree.
to create that jeopardy, and that's what the FA Cup needs is that jeopardy.
These are also edge cases, right? Tamworth versus Tottenham is not the norm. It's like, do you want Rotherham versus Mansfield going to a replay? Like, who gives a shit, really? You know.
No.
Yeah. Just one last one on the Tottenham Tamworth thing. We'll go with you, Chris, because it's more performance related. Do you think the performance from Tottenham was sort of a combination of the things of it being a really small ground, them getting the abuse from fans literally 2 meters where they're walking in, having to play on a 3G pitch? Or do you just think it was a bit of complacency? Not really very good.
I'm not having any of that. I'm not having any of those pathetic excuses. These are professional footballers. They need to produce some decent. They did nothing, right? When the 90-minute whistle went at 90 minutes, I can't even remember really anything that their goalkeeper had done. They created absolutely nothing. But the Spurs fans will latch on to, I don't know, the fact it wasn't grass, the fact that it was green and not yellow, and the fact that Ange got up and had a banana for breakfast rather than an apple. Anything is just an excuse to why Spurs are appalling, as long as it's not Ange's fault. But, I don't want to turn it every week into me it will be every week. Me
Into his good.
try and keep it relatively limited. We're just rubbish. But we will have the odd game. Obviously, we beat Liverpool the game before. I didn't think we were amazing in that game, but we were okay. So we will have the odd game where we're all right because of the way he plays. But 9 times out of 10, we're just rubbish. So was I sat there surprised in any way? I was just I've seen it all before many, many, many times. So the only thing that was missing was a Tamworth winner, really. And by the end of it, you're almost rooting for them. Like
that chance right at the end from the corner, I thought if you just go for a tackle instead of trying to shoot there, you probably scored. Because he pulled out.
I'd have just laughed, mate. Honestly, I wouldn't have even been angry. I'd have just laughed because we are banter FC, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's
pretty bad this season. Pretty bad.
I found your best friend Chris, Big Ange. He was like is it Gabriel Clark on ITV? He was like, "Oh, can you explain the drop off between beating Liverpool in the week, then struggling with Tamworth again extra time?" And he was like, "Oh, there's no drop off. You just got to win a game of football. Like, you
just who we are, mate.
You're
Just who we are.
You're kidding me. Just say,
Like,
yeah, all right,
interviews, honestly,
races, but we done what we had to do. Not, they weren't a drop off. They played like piss off, man.
Yeah. I mean, his interview after the Liverpool game. Anyway, I think we're going to possibly talk about that. Haven't we? One of the incidents in that, so I'll come on to that later. But he's terrible. His interviews, I think he's so disrespectful to the interviewers a lot as well. I just think he's not that nice a bloke, really.
Yeah, true colours are starting to come out as of late. So we'll see what happens. Watch the space.
Yeah, fair play. Right, let's move on to the game above. So we've got Arsenal against Man United. I watched bits of this because Newcastle were on at the same time. Obviously, Man U have gone down to 10 men, played about an hour with 10 men in the end, and then ended up knocking Arsenal out on pens. Anybody think that could mean that Arteta's under a bit of pressure now?
Yeah, I think he is. I think the fans are growing a little bit tiresome of bottling it, coming out second best. You know, having not really replaced or even got a main striker, because really Havertz and Gabriel Jesus were second choices. It wasn't the main target that they was going for. So these kind of things are really starting to get the fan base, riled up, and they're starting to see the same things happening. And it's going to build. It's going to build pressure. Obviously, he's taking responsibility at the moment. I've been saying that they don't need to get a striker, and Arsenal not really showing any activity in this current transfer window, especially with Jesus going off injured as well. Yeah, the pressure is gonna build. I mean, he's only lost 2 games at the Emirates this season, or he ain't even lost them. But they've come off. Lost against Newcastle, and then obviously getting knocked out, not losing in 90 minutes, but still getting knocked out. It's gonna build.
Against 10 men for an hour as well.
And that as well. It's not going to be good. The only thing is that he's got Champions League coming up, hopefully for him and for Arsenal. Maybe they can get a good result and turn some of these this low confidence, low run of form into some good form. They're struggling at the moment.
Do you think that's a realistic out for them though? Because at the minute they're not playing very good football, and they're relying a lot on set pieces. The first time I've watched them in a while was against Newcastle midweek, and at times it looked like they were playing for corners. They were putting crosses in that were designed to hit your shin and go out for a corner. But do you think the Champions League is a real thing to them to look at? I think this could be the get out for us to win a trophy now.
Well, they got to try and win a major trophy at the end of the day. Like the Premier League is looking very ominous for them right now. It's not looking likely. Champions League is, you've got as good a chance as anyone else if you can put a good run of form together. Really, now this is where it counts. The new structure and everything of the Champions League can make it work for you. You've got to try and get some resilience. You've got to bounce back from these bad results, and maybe in the league they can change their confidence, change their form, and get something out of it. I think they have to realistically look at it. They can't just think that of themselves as another team in there. They have to look at it like, yeah, we're going to win it. Otherwise, what's the point? What is the point?
No, that's a very, very, very fair point. While we're on the subject of Arsenal, obviously, in a couple of days, we've got the big North London derby. The Tottenham rock up. Chris is rolling his eyes, but I actually personally think Tottenham go there and do a very Tottenham thing and beat them quite comfortably. But does anybody think that this could be a game where if Tottenham do go there and win, he could potentially be gone? Because that'd be 3 games on the trot at the Emirates and no wins.
Are we talking El Sacchio?
I don't think it'll be as bad for Ange if it's a close loss because it's at Arsenal. But the other way round,
I think if we lost to Tamworth, Ange isn't getting sacked. Honestly, I'm not even joking. Like I don't get it. Like the protection around Ange is really weird. Like Tottenham do Tottenham things. We've won there twice in the Premier League, and that's 32 attempts One of them, by the way, was the week before the '93 Cup final when Arsenal put the reserves out. So really, we've only kind of won there once in 30 years. So I can't see it happening.
What I meant by more doing Tottenham things was just doing that something that you just don't expect.
Yeah.
Every now and again.
It'll be a more Tottenham thing to be 5-0 down after 20 minutes.
And that's what the thing would be, isn't it? Like you'd least expect. He's actually out of it by half time.
Yeah, I think
It's got to be under.
On the form.
I mean, it's not the big game of the midweek because surely that's second v first. But I suppose we could talk about these other two sides. Also around. I mean, Arsenal could play well, but their form in front of goal is dreadful.
Yeah.
Like it really, really is.
And they're getting less and less players in that area at the minute.
And I think the pressure is really building on Teta, and it's mainly through his own devices, because I understand the whole siege mentality and everyone's against us and that. But if you're going to do it properly. At the minute, everyone just thinks that he's an arsehole and he's the perfect representation of his club. Like, with that, like, I don't want to break into the ref talk earlier on, but generally it was. I didn't watch the whole game, but I've got mates that detest Man United, and they've said I've never seen what it feels like a one-sided refereeing performance. Arsenal have got all the rub here. It seems to them. And he said, "Oh no, we didn't get nothing. The ref favoured Man United. Oh, we was unlucky. We should have won. If you have that many easy chances and you miss them, you don't deserve to win shit." It's like stuff in the week.
I'd have to say Arsenal should have scored some of those chances. The pen, Havertz chance.
I didn't think the ref was that bad, but that was never a penalty. That's never a penalty in a million years.
And you can't say you're better if you fail to miss that many sitters, a penalty. It's just, you can't say, oh, it's unlucky, on another day. Well, no, it's not another day because it keeps happening. And it keeps coming out with shit excuses. And all we're going to do is laugh. We're going to lap it up. And even people that don't particularly care for Arsenal say that, I don't know, like whole supporters are going to be thinking, oh, no, that's the geezer who said they lost their League Cup tie because the ball was different.
Yeah. But like, you know what? It adds to, like what you said, the siege mentality. Yeah. So maybe that's
not working.
It's not working. It's not because he hasn't got the quality that he needs in front of goal right now.
I think quality, and also I still think it's a bottle thing as well.
Nah, I think if Saka was in the team with Odegaard, I think you get different run of results.
That would be said for a lot of teams, having your two best players like on top form.
Of course. But that's the thing, and that's the thing, and that's the gripe with the fan base. I feel like is the fact that they haven't replaced certain positions like they said they was aiming to. So when
they've spent an awful lot of money, haven't they?
Yeah, they spent a lot of money, but spent it on on Gabriel Jesus, who's one of their top earners. But again, he's to be honest, I feel a little bit sorry for Jesus because he's he gets into a good run of form and then he gets injured, just like what's happened currently. He was he on how many goals had he scored? So he got the hat trick against Palace.
He got 2 the next game against them.
Yeah, and then, he had about 6 or 7 in the last sort of 5 or 6 games.
Didn't he have a goal involvement on Sunday as well against United?
Gabriel scored after Thingy got sent off.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't injured by that point.
I think he played Hazard through for the pen.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, he got himself into a little bit of form, and then he's got himself injured. And look where they are right now. They got to do something.
But surely that's down to just piss poor planning, because they've bought how many defenders? They've bought so many midfielders that are all very similar or useless, and they haven't really bought any attackers. They've bought Havertz in, and they've bought in Jesus, who are not, like, no matter which way you look at it, they're not
number 9.
Inspire you to any kind of major tournament.
And the thing is, if you look at Arsenal teams throughout the ages, they've always had a good number 9.
Yeah. Or a good front, like someone who is gonna score a bag load, or a couple of guys that are going to score a bag load of goals.
Yeah.
Not just relying on one man to sort of
Yeah.
do the whole thing, the goals, the assists, and relying on Saka to do everything. Which
Yeah.
is crazy, really, the size of the club and where they've been over the last few years.
But and the thing is, like you said, it's poor planning because you can't just rely on one player and expect to win the title. Especially looking at who your main rivals are, Man City. That's your target, isn't it? And they've got they've got Haaland up front, so you've got to be able to compete with that.
Well, they picked up two rivals cast-offs essentially because Man City weren't really fussed about having Jesus, and Chelsea weren't really fussed about having Havertz. I mean,
No,
I'm not saying they're horrible players, but
that's it.
if you want to challenge for titles, you need someone who's going to guarantee you like 15, 20 goals.
Yeah. You could even roll that down to players like Zinchenko and Jorginho. Same two clubs. Neither club were really that fussed that the player went to Arsenal. It was like, right, we don't care.
But this is the thing: if you do get, the marquee players to go in with those, and they become squad players, those are good squad players to bring on.
Oh yeah,
So
100%. 100%.
it's not necessarily bad. It's only bad if you don't follow through with the main targets.
Yeah.
And now going into Wednesday, the pressure is on them. It's really on them. And to be honest, it could be a draw on Wednesday. That will probably be the most unlikely outcome to see a draw, a ball draw. But
I think
Zero shots on target for either side.
clean sheet. I think they'll both be happy with that.
On the flip side, just finishing talking about Arsenal because they're boring. Like some good, some hopeful signs for United there, right? Two decent performances in a row from them.
Definitely. And like you said before, with it being 10 men, I think it just builds that resilience and belief.
Character.
Yeah.
I don't think many people would have said they would have gone to Liverpool and was it Liverpool last week? Liverpool and Arsenal and done what they did.
No,
Liverpool and Arsenal back-to-back's a good result, but I see Man United's attack very similar to Arsenal's. It's a little bit toothless, to be honest. I think if you set up right defensively against them, you've got a chance of winning the game.
Oh yeah, but when you've just appointed a new manager, you just want to see some green shoots of hope, don't you? And I think you're beginning to see some there.
They'll be on the right track when they start beating Brentford's, Bournemouth's, Fulham's. When they start beating those teams around sort of 7th to like 12th again comfortably,
Yeah,
like you would assume a top 4 side would. We don't even make the top 12.
Well, I tell you something. With the way this week's fixtures are, Man United are home to Southampton, right? So you think surely they're going to win that. West Ham, where are West Ham?
We've got Fulham tomorrow.
Fulham at home. First game.
Palace on Saturday.
So you got Fulham at home. So hopefully first game under Potter, right, in the league. So you win that, and Man United win. Spurs could be 14th by Wednesday evening, and we could even be level on points with 15th if Palace beat Leicester. That's how well Spurs are doing. But
wow, that is crazy.
That says a lot.
They'll still defend him.
That's a fantastic indirect segue as well there, Chris. So, Stocky, over to you, mate. Potter in first game Friday evening.
Oh yeah.
The start of it. It looked like there was some of them green shoots Chris was talking about for Man United. What do you think?
Oh, it definitely was. But then there was someone with a gun in the stand shooting at hamstrings. Poor Fulkrug. I mean,
yeah.
Wow.
I think that guy's been at Spurs all season, hasn't he? Targeting our hamstrings. Got 5 out with hamstring injuries.
Yeah, I mean that was that is. I know, like you don't often feel sorry for like professional footballers, but he was just sort of starting to play into a little bit of match fitness, and then you just watch him because pulling your hammy like that is terrible.
And
you're like, oh god. And it was funny because Somerville went off at half time, and he was probably our best player. And he pulled his hamstring doing a really good tackle on who's that left back? Is it Maatsen?
Maatsen,
yeah.
But I must say, for someone who'd had probably a training session and shook hands as they walked onto the coach, it was a bit of like organisation, and a couple of players played, whether it be for themselves, for the club, because Potter asked them to do something. They did it for 45 minutes, and it's a shame we lost our biggest threat in Somerville, because then we was a bit toothless. And if you ain't got much threat up front, I mean, Danny Ings is a nice footballer, but he's slow. He's just no threat to a first choice Premier League centre back area.
One paced after Somerville went up.
Exactly, and then so that the Villa fullbacks can push up and you're under the cosh. It was a bit of a shame because I thought we played all right in the first half.
Yeah, no, there was some good signs in that game.
Yeah, hopefully he can patch up a side to play in the next couple of games because we're a bit short.
Very short. But I heard a little rumor that you could be possibly looking at trying to get in Duran from Villa.
Yeah, so apparently we put in the bid that we should have put in the summer, and they've gone it's 60. They just said no.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Exactly. So I think we're going in for a bid with someone from Marseille now. I can't remember his name. But yeah, I think they're just going to do everything they can to try and bring in a striker. But in terms of green shoots, the man of the match on Friday night was someone from our youth academy, left back. Yeah, he was part of the under 18s that won the FA Cup a couple of years ago when we beat Arsenal 6-1.
Fair play.
Like sort of left back, can play a bit of centre midfield. Played really well. So it's a few more games.
Good stuff. That's always good to see someone from the academy coming through and doing a good job.
It keeps us interested, no matter who you are, no matter what team you support. If you're a bit fed up with it, but you see a couple of players come through from your academy, I don't know. I mean, they could be shit, but you're just pleased to see something.
Yeah, something's working.
Yeah,
getting someone through.
Always good signs. Always good signs. So last one on this before we roll on to the next. Did anybody watch any of Everton on Thursday evening?
I did, and my main point from this game is fucking Darren Ferguson is a prick. He's an enemy of football. Why would you not bring on?
I totally disagree with that.
I've got to be with Chris on this one. I'm sorry.
Nah, man. Look, as soon as the second one goes in, all right.
No, but the second one, he's already used all his subs by then.
Yeah, and it was the 94th minute or something like that.
If you're losing 1-0, you go for it. What's wrong with just chucking him up front?
Yeah, but he's a right back.
Yeah, no, he's a centre, deep line centre midfield.
I get it. I get the
romance. They're gonna lose.
Anyway. I get the romance behind it. It would have been a lovely moment, but he's got to try and stay in the FA Cup.
Yeah,
and that is first and foremost his job. He has not
shit on two cans.
No, but he doesn't have anything to give to Ashley Young or his son or any of that. No. He's just trying to stay in the cup, and that's what he tried to do. I've got to back him.
Yeah, he's got to owe everything to the club. The club's got to come before anything else. If the game was dead and buried, then fair enough.
A super motivated player to go on and kick his dad or score against his dad. My God, I'll be frothing at the mouth.
Yeah, but
he's running through brick wall.
Now, to be fair, you got to think Peterborough could have had a chance to get through. Yeah. Unfortunately,
mate, they were nowhere near doing shit in that game.
No, they were just 90th minute, so they had a chance.
Yeah,
could have made a mistake.
What are you going to do? Throw in a big lump so you can chuck some long balls into the box, or bring on Ashley Cole's son just for a romantic moment that's got nothing to do.
I mean, you could have brought on Ashley Cole's, but Ashley Young.
Ashley Young's son. Either way, it doesn't matter. Just don't bring on anybody's son. Any Ashley's son. They can all stay on the bench. Not going to win the game.
Yeah, no. I'm with Ferguson on that one.
Yeah, sorry, Stocks, you're on your own, mate.
You are a bunch of miserable gits. I can't believe how the tables turned.
Sorry, mate.
Mate, it's all about winning. Win first, worry about the romance a little bit later.
What would Mourinho...
in that case, he's crap on two cans.
Yeah. Maybe he is. What would Mourinho done?
Can't argue with that.
For someone who didn't want to fall to nepotism, the only person who got a league winners medal because his dad managed Man United.
It's the irony in it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. It is pretty crazy. Right, I pulled this up earlier. We're going to jump back to it. Again, it hasn't worked. There we go. It's worked my end. We've already spoke about a couple of the draws. Any of them jumping out to you? I know which one Stocky's going to bring up if a certain team win their game tomorrow evening. So we'll start with you, Stocks. What's jumping out at you on that?
Oh, it's got to be if Orient can beat Derby at a Matchroom tomorrow or whatever it's called now. Oh, if they can get home to Man City, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that's the one. That is definitely the one that stands out to me as well. What about you, Sink?
That's the one. If the hometown team can do it, that would be sick. That would be really good.
Everyone's getting tickets for that, aren't they? Everyone's going to get back to Waltham Forest.
I'm gonna call a few buddies. I know a few people that live in the flats.
Oh, mate, could you imagine the prices on the Airbnbs for them flats?
Hey, mate, that'd be dollar.
Should we have a Dutch auction and all chip in, get a flat?
Why not? Why not? Got to do something.
I mean, West Ham are out. I got a free Saturday.
Exactly. QPR, right?
If it's possible, I'm in.
Definitely.
How about you, Chris? Anything jumping out at you? You looking forward to your trip to Villa Park?
I think the prospect of Charlton versus Wickham fills me with so much excitement for the FA Cup.
Right, the magic is alive.
To be honest, I thought it was a bit of a boring draw. Exeter Forest maybe might be an interesting one.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you're hoping to get like Exeter at home or something, aren't you? And you get Villa away, and you're just like, God.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it, mate.
Yeah, so you know, who knows? I mean, it'll be an interesting game at least. We won there 4-0 last season, so and even Timo Werner scored. So who knows?
Who knows?
Could lightning strike twice. We'll see.
I do have a quick question for you, Mitch. Though we glossed over the Newcastle game, but I want to know how my boy did yesterday. So just for anyone who doesn't know, that the lad who refereed the game at Newcastle yesterday was trained by me.
Excellent. Well
many
done.
years ago.
And I'm gonna
him by the looks of things.
I'm gonna pay him the biggest compliment I could possibly pay him here, and I'm gonna say I did not even notice him.
That's it.
He's doing all right. He's getting a lot of championship games this season, which he wasn't previously, and that's a massive game. You imagine when you come up through the ranks and you're getting better and better games, and all of a sudden you're refereeing at Newcastle United, like unreal. And he's a top quality lad, and he's still pretty young. He's about 30, so I think we might see him in the Premier League at some point. Will Finney, his name is.
Watch your space.
Nice.
Will, good lad.
Yeah, genuinely can't say that I can think of anything from the game that I even potentially thought he got wrong, to be honest.
He did make an absolute howler early in the season at Stoke City, but we'll let him off that one.
Hey, you just got to learn.
Everybody makes mistakes.
Exactly. But Mitch, you never really spoke about Newcastle. How did you feel like the game went? What was your perspective?
Especially 1-0 down.
Yeah.
You know what? I do a little predictive thing, and I had it as 3-1. I just didn't have them scoring first in my head, and it brought back a lot of PTSD for me because me and Stocky did a cup upsets thing yesterday evening, and I rolled out 4 Newcastle upsets from the last 20 years, maybe. Some of them are horrendous.
I remember Cambridge,
and Cambridge was what I was just about to get onto. 4 of that back 5 started again yesterday.
Oh, really?
So when Bromley scored, it was like, here we go again. This cannot be happening again. But to be fair, it was a very professional performance. We didn't panic. We kept doing what we were doing, and we just kept playing, thinking we will score eventually. And we kind of wore them down, to be honest.
Trust the process.
Yeah. I think that says a lot about Eddie Howe's management and coaching, to have that same crop of players that was involved in that period of your club, to still have them now, even having been to the Champions League and obviously put in a weakened team, but to still have them there, and now they're half decent squad players. It's good to see.
A couple of them play pretty well. A couple of them play pretty regular still at the minute, so it's good to see how far they've come. I think 6 or maybe 7 of that squad were involved yesterday. The squad that lost to Cambridge which would have been 2022. So come a long way.
Yeah, well done.
To be fair,
Just remembered one of the spurious refereeing link I have to the not glory, the excitement of the FA Cup. Do you guys remember about 10 years ago when Luton were non-league and they beat Norwich?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that game. One of the few times a non-league team's knocked out a Premier League team. But one of the lads who refereed was one of my referees for a while, but he was also a very good player. He set the goal up for Luton.
Oh,
He
really?
had a non-league career. Yeah. His brother was a good ref as well, but he just refereed on the side when he was young. But he was far too good a player and played for Luton and Gateshead and a couple of other teams.
Fair play. You don't come across many refs that actually played at the highest level.
Yeah, down at that level, there's a few, man. I mean, when he was refereeing, he was just a kind of a kid doing it alongside his playing, right? But then obviously he was actually a good player, right? So he gave it up and went on to. It's really unlucky, actually. He had his whole career was riddled by terrible injuries. He's probably only early 30s now, but he never really progressed sort of past Luton because he was just injured all the time. It was unlucky.
So unfortunate.
Fair enough. So I believe it could be on to what everybody's here for. It's not VAR court this week because there was no VAR, but there's still a couple of decisions to look at. So
yep.
Let's get into it. Chris, into the hot seat. Okay, so decision number one. I think this is more understanding of the law than whether it being right or wrong. So Stocky, do you want to go first on what you think of what's happened in this situation? I see the Arsenal players played it through Maguire. It looks like it's got a touch. It's gone on to Martinelli. It's been ruled out for offside.
Does it come off of him intentionally or something? Because they don't do phases or such anymore, do they?
Well, that's kind of what I would have it down as, that it has to be sort of an intentional play of the ball rather than a deflection or anything other than them type of things. But what you saying on it, Sink? Because there was a little bit of uproar, as there normally is, when an opposition player gets a touch on a pass through, and they're like, well, he's touched it. You can't be offside.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he's touched it, so it should negate anything, just for me personally. But, the rules of the game is unless he's intentionally played it or if it's come off of him and it's like, that's a bit subjective. So if he just touches it, then it's just like end of, and it's done.
But before Chris jumps in, I think the intentional play of the ball isn't like you're trying to play the ball. It's the ball does, like, say if Maguire wants to clear it upfield and he then slices it, that still isn't classed as an intentional play of the ball from my understanding of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It makes it too grey, and it just becomes subjective. So then it's just like it's the ref's interpretation of what the actual words are of the rule. I mean, again, for me, by the letter of the law, he's not intentionally played it, so it's not offside. But what do I know? I'm just a coach.
Over to you, Chris. We've all had our say. Let's hear what the law says on this one.
So this is an example of where the wording of the law doesn't make it necessarily clear enough. But if you're boring and you're involved in the laws of the game, you get like extra guidance and then it becomes quite clear. So I think referees will be pretty unanimous on this. So the wording comes down to whether the defenders deliberately played the ball. Now, what you'll have all the Arsenal fans up in arms because he's deliberately tried to play the ball. So he's trying to cut it out, right? But he's just got it all wrong, and it just sort of hits his leg, and it rebounds into the path of Martinelli. So the guidance that's given is that deliberate play is not just trying to play the ball; it's actually having some level of control over the outcome of where the ball's going to go. So if a deflection, for example, absolutely does not negate the offside at all. But if he had control of it and he turned around and passed it to Martinelli, that would be onside then. That wouldn't be. We still have phases of play. That would be another phase of play. But just a deflection, even if that opposition player is trying to block it, so there is a deliberate move by him, that doesn't qualify as deliberate play in this part of the law. So that's where the confusion comes in. I remember one. This will be really niche because probably only Everton and Arsenal fans will remember this. But a couple of years ago, I can't remember, Gabriel or Saliba or something was on the halfway line. I'm pretty sure it was a Goodison, and they're playing the ball around, and Beto, I think, tried to block it, a pass, and it just rebounded into the path of Everton attacker who went on and scored. And they were like, oh, he's made a deliberate attempt to block the ball, which he sort of did, but he had no control over where it went. It just hit him and rebounded. Happened to rebound to a guy who was onside, and he went through and scored. That's absolutely fine. Like, there's no, or was it the other way around? I can't remember which way around it was. But if you haven't got that, where I disagree slightly with what you said, Mitch, if he's got control of the ball and slices it, that's just his lack of skill. There is an expectation that a professional footballer who's got control of the ball has got influence over where the ball goes. But if they don't get control of it at all and it just kind of hits them and deflects somewhere, it's the same phase of play, and it's absolutely correct. So again, like we said a lot here in the ones we discuss, where I say, right, if you've got a different opinion, that's okay because it's subjective. This really is not subjective in law. This is just very clear that was not a deliberate play by Maguire, and that's, if any referee didn't give that offside, I'd really question their understanding of the law.
Okay, fair enough. That should clear it up for everybody questioning that one. We've only got one more for this evening, and it rolls a little bit further back. So we're back into the Tottenham Liverpool game in the League Cup, which I believe was Wednesday evening, or was it Tuesday? One of the two.
It was Wednesday.
Tuesday evening. So Bergval's already on the yellow card. He sized down Tsimikas, which for me was a clear yellow card as well, so should have been off. And then he just so happens to go on and score the winner. Think, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, yeah, it should have, for the actual challenge, it should have been a yellow. For that challenge, it should have been a yellow. I think it's very. This is what is a little bit frustrating as well about being on the sidelines as well, is when you've been impeded and then your player has to come off to get treatment and whatnot, and the referee takes forever or makes it a disadvantage for you to get your player back on the pitch. And you know, situations like this you hope don't happen, and it happens eventually, but it's very very few and far between that these kind of situations pop up where the player that has caused the infringement that should have gone off, that isn't off, ends up scoring the goal. It's like the irony of it is you couldn't write it. But what I don't get is why it takes so long to allow the player that's getting treatment back on the pitch when, you know, he's been disadvantaged and the team's been disadvantaged. That's my only discrepancy with it, really.
Wait, have I missed something here? So was Tsimikas still off the pitch when Tottenham scored as well?
Yeah, it was.
Oh my word. Okay. See, I completely missed that bit. I didn't watch this game, but I have seen the highlights. I didn't realise Tsimikas wasn't back on at the time that Bergval scored. That makes it even worse.
And it was in his position as well, where everything happened.
It came across that way, didn't it?
Got dragged. His teammates got dragged into his position, so there was completely at a disadvantage.
It's almost like the perfect crime, isn't it?
Yeah, it was quality to watch. Glad it wasn't my team because I'd be absolutely
Word. Yeah, okay, no, I can understand the rage behind it now. Stocky, what are your thoughts on it? Anything different to think?
I mean, not particularly. I mean, you can moan, but it was just the referee's decision that he didn't see it as a booking, I guess. Apparently, the first one was a bit soft.
Yeah, the first one was soft
because I didn't see the first one.
Yeah,
but a bit more than soft, I'd say. It was a dive by the Liverpool player, but it's what it is.
What, a Liverpool player diving? Yeah. My shock. But that doesn't. Whether I think at that point it's irrespective of what the first one is. If the second one's a booking, it's a booking, but he's deemed it not to be. And then Liverpool really paid the price. I mean, I suppose their only saving grace is a two-legged tie. But yeah, you can understand why they're pissed. But I mean, what can you do? It was a referee's call, and I suppose they're not makes as much as players. But I completely agree with Sinkers. Thank God it weren't my team because I'd be frothing. A bit like that corner.
Well, over to you, Chris, to clear things up. Is this just a genuine mistake, one of them high bars, threshold things for a second yellow, or potentially, as I used to say when I was managing the ref leveling things out because he's got one wrong earlier in the game?
Yeah, there's a whole this is a good example of an incident that causes a whole raft of nonsense being discussed by various people. So, I mean, let's first of all just deal with the tackle or the challenge. It's clearly a reckless challenge. It's late. It's a yellow card offence, right? That is. So the referees misjudged that. There's a few things I want to cover about it. First of all, the fact that the first one wasn't the yellow card, that's irrelevant, really. So what? And I don't buy for 1 second some of the people who say, oh, maybe the refs found out the first one wasn't a yellow, so he's called it. That's not the way it works. Like, these referees are all competing against each other to get the best games. Like, you want to make one mistake, not two, because if he does that, he's just going to get marked down for 2 key match incidents wrong in his assessment, and that's not going to happen. There is no way the ref looked at it and thought, yeah, it's a yellow card, but I'm not going to give it because I didn't give what. It just doesn't work like that. So the refs just missed it. The fact that Tsimikas is off the field, well, like sort of Sink just sort of alluded to, that's a bit of a not coincidence because it came from that, but it's just what can you do about that? The reason where that law came from, though, is people are going, it's unfair. It looks unfair in this scenario. But the reason why that came in is to stop players from feigning injury, right? And which they were doing all the time towards the end of a game. So therefore, the powers that be thought, how can we do that? Well, if they get any treatment, we'll make them go off for at least 30 seconds. That way it might dissuade them a little bit. So in this isolated situation, you look at Tsimikas and you think that's a bit harsh on him. But it's come in because of the way players behave across the whole game in other scenarios. That's why that's there. And then there's one other point to cover, which is the Spurs fans and Ange Postecoglou saying, oh, no, it's okay for this part of the law. So the law was amended a couple of years ago that says, got to be careful how I put this across. If it's a yellow card offence solely because you're denying an attacking opportunity to the other team, but you can play advantage. So that let's say he's pulled him back. And if you gave the free kick, it's because you're trying to stop him from having this advantage, right? But as a referee, you play advantage and the guy gets away. And if you can successfully play an advantage, you no longer show that guy a yellow card because he hasn't actually denied the attacking opportunity, right? He's just tried to deny it. And Ange Postecoglou came out in his bullish, arrogant manner, like he normally does after the game, going, no, it was absolutely correct because the ref played advantage and we were told that in this situation, he doesn't get a yellow card. Well, a whole raft of things that Range got wrong there. One, he didn't play advantage. So that's not true. Secondly, the law also says that in that scenario where it was a second yellow card, you don't play advantage. So if he had played advantage, you'd have been wrong to because you don't play advantage when you're going to send someone off. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is that's all irrelevant anyway because this wasn't an offence of denying, all right, he might have denied an attacking opportunity. But the fact it was a reckless challenge makes it come in at a higher level than that anyway. So all of that advantage stuff only applies to what you would call a careless challenge, right? Just a little trip where you wouldn't normally caution him, but you caution him because there's an attacking opportunity that's been denied. But this was a worse challenge than that. This was a reckless challenge. So a reckless challenge, there's no provision in law for any scenario in which a reckless challenge does not get a yellow card. So and just talking absolute nonsense in his post-match interview. It's 100% a second yellow card. The fact the first one probably wasn't a yellow card is complete irrelevance. It's not in the referee's head, I promise you. The referees just got that wrong. Simple as that, really.
Okay.
You know what? Just what you mentioned about the assessments, Chris. I think that's something that maybe fans should actually get, be able to see. So you can actually.
It's a tricky one, though, Sink, isn't it? Because
I think like what you're saying, like if fans know that referees are competing to be in the top games, then we won't question their integrity because we know they're being assessed. Or we can see what the assessors graded them. They've made that
I
mistake.
get that.
Mistakes are going to happen. I think fans can accept that mistakes are going to happen, and that.
I get that, and I got some sympathy for that. And it's the same with like refs don't care. There's no punishment for them. Well, there is, but you've got to remember that these are employees of a company. So let me put it down to, I don't know what you do for your day job, but would you like your disciplinary record to be sent around the whole company so everybody knows?
Yeah, but I
Or
don't.
your
That's the thing.
performance appraisal?
I don't want to look at it as a disciplinary record. I want to look at it
Even
like,
your performance reviews, right? So I don't know how often your performance appraisals are, quarterly, yearly, whatever. Do you want everybody to know what's in that? You've got a right under law for that to be private, right? And so do these guys. They're just employees of a company.
oh yeah, of course. But I guess what I'm trying to say is if they could make it in a way of like grading it, so you can see, oh, do you know what? This statistically, this ref has been at this level and got this many wrong. I'm just looking at it a way of.
I get it, mate. I get it. But then
I think that would just take
let's
away.
say let's say you've got a massive match at the weekend. It's like a promotion decider or something, and the guy turns up, and you look at the league table and he's bottom. You'll be like, "Why have we got this bloody guy?" You know, there's too many problems with it. I totally understand what you're saying, but there's just too many issues with that, I think.
One other thing on this, Chris. I'm pretty sure I'm sure I saw at some point that the law for the player having to leave the field of play after getting treatment, actually, if the tackles the player who committed the
Yellow
foul
card.
after booking, do they then not have to leave the field of play after treatment? Is that right?
That's a really good question. That certainly used to be the case. I'd have to go and double check what the current laws are. Used to be the case, yeah, that if you were shown a yellow card for the offence, you wouldn't have to leave.
Okay, I was just making sure I wasn't going bonkers and made that up. I
don't know if they changed that when they, because I think you guys know, I used to be very heavily involved. I'm not so much now, but I don't know if they changed it when they brought this 30-second thing in or not. I'd have to double check. Good question, though.
Okay, fair enough. Right, yeah, I think that's everything. We've covered everything this evening. Anybody want to do a news sign off? We've had the Hammers. We've had a Newcastle one. We get Tottenham every week. Looks like it's everything.
We lost.
You're on a great run of form though in the league, aren't you?
Yeah, well, do you know what? I'm glad if we're going to do it, we do it in the cup competition because we suck anyway.
Although you would have gone to Man United in the next round, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that would have been all right.
Everybody wins at Old Trafford anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah, but we've got Plymouth in the next round of the league games. So
new manager bounce, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's not good, is it? Hopefully we can.
I don't even know who they appointed. I know they had just appointed a new manager. Anyone know?
No, can't say that I've paid attention to that.
Yeah, I saw it earlier on, but I can't remember his name.
I can't remember now.
Miron Muslik. Never.
Yeah, I was going to say bit Eastern Bloc.
Austrian, apparently.
Well, hopefully we don't give him a good homecoming.
Yeah, I mean that's gutting, isn't it? When you've got a team like managed by Rooney who are just like stinking the place out, and they just get rid of him just before you play them. That's a real blow.
And this guy's like the next Pep or something. We just don't know.
yeah. Or you get to bounce like Ange did, where he's mental for his first 10 games. So you don't want that.
No, my life. That's exactly what happened to QPR.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see.
Right, boys. Does anybody you want to tell everybody where they can find you? Chris Stocks. Sink hasn't got socials, but
mine's just the normal on Twitter, mate. Spurs CC. I was very active yesterday, trying to take all the Arsenal fans on about why it wasn't a goal for Arsenal.
Doing God's work there, Chris. God's work.
Although I'm less popular when it goes against the Spurs. When I'm like arguing that no, Bergwijn should have been sent off. They don't like that so much.
Me and Mitchell got weird at our sleep. Yesterday we did some FA Cup shocks. I bravely picked West Ham doing the shocking, which was nice. I won't falling for Mitch's doom and gloom. I was going positive for once.
I went through PTSD and Stocky went for West Ham winning the cup.
Last team outside the top division to win it.
1980.
Yes, good stuff.
1980 was just a great year for humanity. That was when I was born.
Right, so Thank you for everybody who's been watching, and we'll see you again next week.
See you all.
Guys.
See you later.